So, my name's Diane, and this is Carla.
Hi.
And we are going to talk to you about manipulatives. And as you probably already noticed, some of you are facing away and you can't read the PowerPoint. That's not a big deal because the PowerPoint will only be useful to you for about 13 seconds. This is about using manipulatives in the language learning classroom. And a little bit of backstory, I used to do training for adult ed ESL teachers in the state of Missouri. And I built this training, or the genesis of this training, a while back. And for them, I had to provide tons of reasons why you should be doing it this way. And there is actually quite a bit of research support for why manipulatives are an effective language learning tool. It tends to draw on their inductive processes. So instead of having a rule, they are building the rules. It mimics the natural acquisition of language that they would have been exposed to as first language learners, and kind of puts language learning on the level of a puzzle that's intriguing and fun to play with. So that's one of the reasons I tend to go for a more inductive approach. Learning styles and strategies, most of you are familiar with Rebecca Oxford. She talks a lot about the culturally situated learning styles that students come into our classrooms with. And also their just natural preferences. When you do some of the work in the classroom as a manipulative activity, it really touches the learning styles of some students who may not have their learning styles touched on other methods of delivery. And finally, the constructivist process, and I just love this idea of student as scientist. So they're sort of discovering the world as they go and making the world as they go. And so that's kind of why Carla and I have gotten obsessed with manipulatives, is because of this. We're going to kind of just set you loose with a game. So, sure.
So one thing I want to add is, if any of you watch the physical exercise, well, this is something else. When you decide to do a manipulative, or we tend to call sorts, students get up, they have to group. So they've been sitting, there's some activity, they get up and do something, and then they're holding something, you know, so they truly are manipulating something. They have something to look at that they're not looking at the rest of the time, which is typically their book or you. And also you can layer one manipulative on another sometimes so that you add more stuff. Now,
okay. So you don't actually have these cut out, is that correct? Oh, no,
yes,
okay.
I do.
All right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the binder that's sitting on your table. Each of the sorts that we're going to go over is in the binder. And there's the actual sort page, and then there's an instruction page. Don't spend too much time looking at that. The important point is for you to try and do the sorts yourself so that you can figure out what's the goal here. What are we trying to figure out? And we're going to get you started with a game, and I'm going to let you explain this game thing.
okay, so this game is for active to passive. And typically the teacher sort of deals these out just the way I have, which is one at a time on this one. They're all numbered, so you know which is which. And at the teacher's call or a student's call, oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm a real
No, it's fine. It's my job. It's my job.
At that point, as your group, you figure out how am I going to take this sentence and make it passive. And that is your assignment right now. And the team that gets it done first wins. Yeah? So that's what you're supposed to do right now. You all have a card. Some are green, some are yellow, some could be a different color. And you have to write this, so you have to write it. You can't just say, I know it.
You have to write it on the paper here?
Ready? Go.
Yeah.
Yep.
And whoever gets it done, call us over and we'll check for correctness. Done.
You have a pen?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You've got
Done. Done.
They called first.
Corn is. Sorry. What happens when our right
Yeah.
I've done a lot of teaching.
Done. Done? Okay, so now the question comes to you, what is your sentence?
So farmers grow corn in Kansas.
Right, and how did you change it?
Corn is grown in Kansas by farmers.
And so now the question might be, because we're all teachers, right, of ESL, do you need to say, in Kansas? Some people said Kansas, what language do you need and what language don't you need when you switch it from active to passive?
And I would question also the by farmers.
Exactly, by farmers do you need? I mean,
If you grow something, you're farming it, and so that, and Kansas may or may not be relevant. In some instances, it may be relevant. In some others, you may deem it irrelevant. Okay, are we doing another one, Carla?
one more.
It is 2:36, so one more.
Right, say no.
If we were doing this in a regular classroom, you would get the whole list of them. And you'd say, okay, flip over number 1. When you get it correct in your group, take it up to the board and put it on the board. And it would become kind of a racing around, competing with your classmates game. So go.
This one is much harder.
No one will believe that Mary told
Mary was.
There you go. Yep, like,
Go, Kitty. I heard Kitty. Mary told the truth, which no one believed.
that Mary told the truth is believed.
Because Mary is actively telling.
No one believed that. No one believed by Mary, okay.
There you go. There are different ways to use. So you have two passives, or you could have a passive and an active with this, right? What do you want to keep? What do you want to throw out? Is it necessary? Is all of it necessary? So this one pushes my students. This is sort of like, you can see it's number 12. So this one's really much harder. Yeah, I'm speaking.
Mary's truth was not the past.
Instruction was to correct the sentence. So she did, she corrected the other parts of it. Mary, and she kept her as to convert it was not.
Okay, so this discussion, so right now.
Okay, so let me explain what you're going to do for the bulk of the rest of this time. The very first sort in here is the grammar game that we just played. We've got a list of the sorts up here, and there's another slide that also has the list. You can go through and decide with your partners which sorts you want to do. There is in each binder, for each sort, a little container. You're going to pull those out and figure out what's going on, okay? So, and again, you can decide which sorts you want to do based on the students, based on the partners that you're working with, because you probably will not have time to do them all. So,
And wait, there's one more thing I want to tell you before you get started. So we separated these into groups for
spelling
you all.
pronunciation, text-based.
But in real life, this is what my binders look like. And I have all of these in one. So I can open this up at any time and see, oh, okay, I have enough for 3 groups, or I have enough for everything. I can see what I want. I can go make cardstock with
Okay, now the thing
it.
is,
So
Diane, your students.
I just find it the easiest way. I can look at it really quickly, take it, make more if I need it.
Sort
But
those
this is
based
not
on
quite.
letter combination.
This is more specialized than I would do in real class.
The letter pattern.
Special.
The letter combination.
These are all individual. I would have all my classes sorted. So I'd have 8 envelopes, 6 envelopes.
But you have one binder with many envelopes, and we've got many binders, and each one has one.
10 binders.
So, go ahead and take this out if this is what you do, and then shut that down and see if you can figure out. And then whenever you do a sort, if you want to ask questions about what's going on, what are we sorting for, did I do it correctly, etc., etc., yell, and we'll talk to you about it. Wait, hold on there. Don't read the instructions. Figure out, look at these patterns. And I write instructions for other teachers might have to in the beginning, the students would have no idea. A game. So you say you have a list.
What?
So is that supposed to be in there?
In the beginning, I would have to sit with them and get it.
So we would always have students write, so we'd have a binder put them out, so that you're actually looking at, like, how does this go, where does this go? So you're really manipulating it. Like, wait, does this have the same sound?
Well, we're doing a game.
Yes, the rain is changed, yes.
That's a long way.
So that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, most of them work. I think there's only 5 that don't work.
So we're supposed to sort them out?
So you guys know that. She said it's okay, so I'm not going to. But this is an accepting her 5 patterns have instructions. Diane, I can handle that. You can handle that.
6 patterns.
Yeah, we worked through
5 words now. Okay, so you are looking at letter pattern.
You are.
So this one you do need the instructions. So, and the instructions, yeah. Well, this is technical. Students have read a couple of articles marketers. One of 2 ways, not standard, vocabulary rapid.
Some people might say there.
More targeted.
There's a sudden section.
Depending on how vocabulary together, I'll do it. I prefer the 2.
But if you say it that way,
So did you guys find some patterns?
you know, I mean, but the spelling is, I guess it goes with it. To some extent.
All right, what about
Well, see, yeah, it's just the I thing. Why says I when it's so if you look at that doesn't stay there, doesn't do that.
And I will tell you that when I've done my first times, it's pretty nice. Well, and I probably did for consumer. Looking for what students will get. Right. You, but you're supposed to look for then the next one is literally those are
What's on that?
Now find two words that describe fire behavior. Explain the fire.
Yes.
Just one.
Well, they go for innovation.
I don't do it anymore, but so let's see. We spend, 20 minutes a week doing activities like this so that they could brush up on their spelling.
Choose two words from each marker.
Or this is a low level. I basically this was spelling. I know that this one.
How is it fire? I-E or Y, then it
I don't know what this is.
But yeah. Very little. Choose a word that's very important.
Well, but the thing of it is, and I don't know, she behaves and what they're going to and so they split them and then come up with
Okay,
Oh, you did.
Oh, no, you're welcome to jump ahead. And that was probably a dumb idea to say, don't use the stuff in the book, instructions, because that's not true on all of them. You won't know what to do if you don't.
Yeah, we were finding it out
Okay, so here, I'm going to collect these. Yeah, and then somebody else.
Yeah.
This is
How many break programs do, or like you get students in the groups? How many games or sessions?
Oh.
What do you have probably do in the session?
Well, in level 4, the day before the test, I call it rap day.
Well,
And everything, so I do a vocabulary rap, and I do a grammar rap, and I do but that's only one day every 3 weeks. I don't do a lot of sorting. Well, sometimes I do, but more typically you would sort, one sort in a single class period. And I will tell you, I used to use this with my dad once.
with my brother. It's my brother.
And in the beginning, they need a lot of coaching because this is not very intuitive. So you really have to kind of,
Never came here. My
you
mother
really have to kind of coach them along to what is this big do.
I know exactly. They carried us. Oh, we killed them all the way back to Turkey.
All right, so in
This might be the very first sort I've ever made.
So we'd be driving with my control truck, climb up my brother.
What tense would they use?
just that I'm feeling right,
Choirs that I sit down for.
no, but they might guess that others don't. And so then you might say, right. So I don't think they necessarily get all of these, but then they say, well, we know brain. or, wage, so what about these others?
Yeah.
So it might lead you into at least an educated guess.
Right.
And then they can see the word two in that category and say, oh, that's how that works.
Exactly, yes. And don't you say this? Well, no, we never say this.
Well,
Well, yes, that's true. Just like this.
No, these were from a reading where they read about
Sorry, we're not.
all about
No, no, no. These are two
how we
categories.
perceive risk and how we tolerate
Yeah,
risk.
that's-
I didn't just
But
see
at
Thanks for
the
fixing
same
that.
time,
I do, I can think it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who probably didn't know this how that.
Yeah, that was wonderful, thanks.
yeah, and then they would just write it.
there's actually after they sorted them, I called all organizers. And so then they would have to write all their words. And then not only that, after 5 of these. So the beauty of this, and I swear by it, literally any, no one rendered that long exam in 6 minutes. So teacher needs to play and then say, you gotta look at these, you gotta find one. But then the other song is that it's sort of be a little bit flexible. So at the same time that it gives them an organizing system, teaches a little bit of flexibility because, better is not in there. Right. So anyway.
I really thought. I have stuff. That's what I think about. Or I have this one. Something now.
Yeah, but that breaks.
On Monday. Yeah, so can it,
That's a text-based sort.
yeah.
They are conditionals and they have just read articles on risk perception and risk tolerance. And then they were also studying the if conditional, and so they had to use the concepts of the reading to make true statements. No, a reading in their lead textbook.
So maybe I teach preschool, and so is there a way to make this more preschool appropriate? I mean, besides just using pictures, besides.
Letters, you can have a picture and a letter. Actually,
No, just.
sure it is.
Well, not these.
So
Yeah.
when
I guess I'm just looking for some ideas on
When
how
I was teaching the reading fundamentals at the lower level, we started off with sound letter correspondence. And I didn't do the vowels, but I did the consonants, and they had and they had the letters, and they matched those. They could do, a picture of 5 plates, or 5 Carla said that one of your games is but this could really be a concentration.
So they would do. Yeah, we do concentration.
Also, you can make a concentration thing.
I'll be back.
Letters or
This is
colors.
what I do with mine.
If they maybe know how to spell the colors, you have yellow written out, and something yellow or clear. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be as text. I wasn't sure.
Right.
Surely they could do something.
Right, okay. So now you.
Yeah, and then this is also kind of tied up with text. They're gonna make grammatically correct statements, which is fine, we can do that. With the ideas that are in line with the ideas from the text.
So if a mosquito-borne infection becomes more common, we become less fearful. Because once we kind of know something, we're not.
Because it might as well. I was
If
gonna say we spent less time on something.
If a risk is new and unfamiliar, here. No, this is, yeah, and the trick with this is they have read 2 readings, and then using those concepts, they have to make these groups.
And we do all of that all the time.
With the grammatical construction.
So you're integrating grammar with the text, with the content.
And I have to admit, this is like my Eric, and I happen to be observing in that day, it's like, it's just so.
Yeah, integrate the grammar. That's not
Exactly,
something to do.
no, and it's really hard, you know, so this allowed, it's pretty awesome.
Very mainly just vocabulary.
Ooh, yeah.
Body parts, clothing, food.
But it's sort of like, I'm trying to use like, the way they're using it is actually like,
Carla basically listening, and they do a lot of note taking. I just thought this was so.
Yeah, because you know, like, those sounds like that doesn't mean they do it.
Right.
I don't know, that's different.
Yeah.
Or what furniture goes in what room.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but take the symbols
Yeah.
out.
Right.
And you have to match.
So
The words, so then they have to know equal signs, plus.
And this is a note-taking activity. Carla, I guess, uses this with her note-taking.
They want to deal them out. So they want to say,
You know, it doesn't, if you can't figure it out, we'll figure it out later. I think that's
that way everybody's focused on the same thing.
Don't worry too much about getting these put back together perfectly.
So these are symbols, like math symbols.
Note-taking symbols.
Note taking.
Decrease, go down, like that.
So my thought was that if you like this,
I like
it's a lot of, it is a lot of, and so.
But it makes it easy.
That's right.
But you can still use that for lower levels, like increasing and decreasing.
Absolutely.
Parentheses.
Well, and I remember, so for years I taught grammar, but I taught really low level adult ed students. So we just did grammar.
Another way that I would
Never used grammar, and I would never have taught present perfect or past tense. And then when I started teaching upper levels and then moved into a university setting, I realized
Oh, well, it's explained.
that time phrases are just
Okay,
so round up.
So drill with that, then switch and drill with the symbol.
And that forces them kind of on the fly to, that might have been, that present perfect versus past might have been the first story I ever made. And I was so tickled with it and the way that my students got lost.
So that's,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Yes.
And I do some beginning literacy, like, but that's mainly done in class.
And Carla,
Because I, this year, since we're starting to make it, my goal is to concentrate on and on those kids who have multicultural.
this also sort of goes with this So you might just start with that, start with the symbol, or start with, say, okay, where does it go, have them match it, and then have them, okay, now that you've filled all this out, now switch to the other one, do it, but you remember, these are super simple for them. So it doesn't take that long, so they can each I thought this was
This one is a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that's
When the students did that, they have to just go back to that.
This is what we're doing.
Because they're already actually, but also
Father has to
partner, so here,
Put one down, like, so would you think, right, so there's these out and then oh, we gotta separate.
sometimes I'll have, typically, I have phoning classes that I can learn.
So you got those wonderful sound effects that are
Sometimes if you're really bored, I may
so
have
after that, if they have those words, then you could also
it depends. I usually try and have some better off with something like this where there are very
so it's important, not just that.
but if there are lots of them, then I might want to go ahead and have slightly larger group.
Now this one you really can't do, but it's that point of
And
having
this shows that you this
sorts to help them work out what's the main idea, what's the supporting idea. Paragraph could be a front, it's a lecture, but yeah, so you have all the actual outline, students don't have it, but they listen, they take notes.
We're in the pub.
And then notes down, they would put them into the same order. And the teachers and their team, where the main ideas go. That's got,
Integrated into the content. I really like the way.
yeah.
It's fun game to play. But it actually
Yeah, that's harder than figure out what a main idea is. So, by midnight, you say, well, which one's bigger and which one has numbers? Generally, the main idea. So that's the point of that one, and I know it's hard.
Yeah.
But you could probably still look at it. I mean, I'm not saying you should, but you could probably still look at it and you should still figure it out because you understand the language and what would logically be.
here is bingo, and then
No, tic-tac-toe.
It has a free space. Have you picked tic-tac-toe in the free space?
Because I was
Okay. I was super confused. I was like, because it's here.
first I thought it was bingo and then I realized,
this one needs a little bit of-
and then I realized, oh, you know what, I don't.
Okay, now, so the question we were having is, would you get to choose which word you're going to do?
Well,
And
that's
then
fine. The important
or
point
would
here though
you
is
have
that
a
they've done some reading of three articles on
Here's what I think.
perception
I think
and
the
risk
whole
tolerance.
point is that.
And they've also done a lot of different ones. So now they have
So,
to make grammatically
figure out a way that
correct
works.
statements based on the text.
That's what I like about sorts is that there are so many different ways to do it. You have exactly. At first, I just had.
And you guys don't know the text, but they would, if I heard them say, we are more tolerant of it, I
And
just
then
I
and then started using something they call and then
So then they go, if a risk is imposed, we are less tolerant.
part of, for some of
Well,
them,
and really, I would start, I would,
and then
and I probably didn't put in this because really I have probably so I didn't spend a lot of time. But I would just go through these first with the students and say, is this count or non-count? I would go through every word, it's count or non-count. Mark it. So we also have, so there was the chart where they would count non-count. Okay, now, let's go through the quantifiers. Is this for count, is this for non-count, is this for both? So Venn diagram there. Okay, now, play the game, so you have it, so play that game. So really, step into it and just, oh, we play this one time. You're right, this is a horrible mix of bingo and tic-tac-toe. You can see that I thought was confused.
That's okay, I was just like, super easy to win, because I was 2 down and I had a voice box. And I can, like, if my children like to play
There might be some
tic-tac-toe against one another, and my 11-year-old you know,
Yeah.
she's just got
Yeah.
that
You had a
strategy.
plan B, I mean, you went to class and it didn't
Like I
work.
say, I was kind of.
Well, no, it did work, but
I tend to.
I just kind of re-winged it.
Or someone drops
Just
because
practice. What they
my
ended
mind
up
was
doing.
getting so fat and
Yeah,
everything
what
at
they
the
ended
bottom.
up doing was they covered
And I had
everything.
actually,
Okay,
I'm not sure how to do that.
Well, mostly because they're, like they were saying, my thought was it was bingo, and then I realized, well, it's kind of tic-tac-toe, and it's sort of stupid. Like, these are just the nouns, so this is a mix of nouns, these are super part of the unit that we were using. And the first thing I would do was be to go over all the words with them. This counts, this non-counts, this counts, this non-counts. Of course, we go over the various quantifiers, count, non-count, both, or count, non-count, both. Now, okay, play the game. So they have to apply.
governors are responsible for challenging partners for
We get right, so it's your turn. I realize I shouldn't have put three. School children, count or non-count. Too much school children? Oh, that won't work. Very little school children? Any school children? Are there any school children? You know, and then I think you probably have a green set so that if 2 people are playing, you can tell who is. Well, at first I didn't do that, and then it's like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. So, you know, sometimes you learn by doing it, sometimes you don't.
So Carla, maybe we should wrap them up and then after this. You guys, maybe a couple more minutes on the swords,
Ah,
and then we're gonna stop you.
so one thing to me about these words like this one, it's a, you know, you can figure out a dozen different ways to pronounce.
just because you're
You know.
It's so much different than doing it. Do a problem playing
Oh,
chess.
it's just like that. Okay, it looks like a game, but what you think first, we need to go through and make sure they understand which count is non-count. Then let's review quantifiers. Now let's think what goes where. You know, there are also just a lot of layers. That's the same as you got to this one, which you know is one of my favorites, but on this one, which is graph language, which is good because it's a lot, and maybe one student.
I don't.
That's how I draw it.
Well, and I have to say, when I developed this, it was for adult ESL, and it was stuff I
And you don't have
did.
to show, I mean, the partner has to show. So you don't just say it goes down, you have to say plummet. Plummet is not this, plummet is for now, you know? And so you go through,
But a lot of
you
times.
can draw it, or what I would do as the next week is give them charts. And then they have to draw it. And then, okay, somebody makes a chart and somebody else then explains the chart to another person who has to copy it in the same way. So that they really get it. And then the adverbs have to make sure that they know how to put it. Oh, and here's the other thing. You know, so for example, love walk
you can really
You have
give
to
them
explain to
an
students that level of demonstration is either going down or up, and then it's level off. So the teach means it goes up and then it goes down. The diff has this up and down. So you're explaining to them this richness of the language, and then you can add adverbs. So phonics ask your students, well, where do you get that?
I think it's like the chicken perhaps, the chicken or the egg was
It's serious vocabulary.
Bottom out.
Again, it's the bottom, then it's coming up again, so. That's what it's about.
So what's the curriculum right now?
Okay, you guys, we're gonna ask you to wrap it up and put stuff back, and then we have some questions, one of which is, can you imagine, and you already kind of touched on this, where's the preschool teacher? There you are. You already kind of touched on this, how would I adapt this for my class? So, any ideas? And you said on the tortured connections, I would have them turn these over and try to sell these items rather than make a sentence connecting them to these items. So that would be another,
I use something similar to this, the torture connections, but with the vocabulary words
Right,
they're supposed
right.
to be learning. And I just draw out two or the random words,
Mhm.
and then they have to write
Right.
a sentence on the board.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in pairs, so you have multiple sentences using the exact same words.
Right.
And then
Okay.
we might turn it into past tense or turn it into future
Right,
tense or
right.
whatever. But that way they're using words they're already supposed to be learning.
Right. And, you know, at the beginning, we said you may not, you don't want to look at the instructions, and that turned out not to be true. Sometimes you need to look at the instructions. Our email addresses are up here. I would be happy to send you any of the stuff that I made. Carla would be happy to send you. We need to send it to one or another of us and have it all. But
I'll
not
send it
that
to
you're
you.
going to use these necessarily exactly as they are, but so that you get ideas of the range of activity types that you can do with sorting. The one that I stole from our colleague Eric, where you integrate grammar and with the text that they've read, I just think is so amazing. And luckily I was there to observe that day, and so I got to steal it. But once you kind of get started on this, it's really easy to come up with great ideas for how to incorporate this into your lessons. So, did you want to say something?
No? Any questions for anybody?
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out the symbol. That looks how I make and, but
Yeah, it is.
but there's already an and in there.
It's true.
So okay.
There are a couple that have two.
I was like,
That's the secret symbol for people who ask.
that's
No.
It looks exactly like that and, right? Yes, it does.
No, I'm writing with our simple and symbol all the time on the board, so I want students to know that that's the one they're gonna see from me
Am I missing something?
more than,
And I
no,
think
so
there's a note on your instructions that in some cases there's more
Yeah.
than one symbol for a particular word.
Because I
So,
would never write it like that. I was always write just a plus. It would never have a loop on it. So, I mean, if I always wrote it that way, but I never wrote it like that, this would be very helpful to learn. Oh, my teacher might have a different way of writing
Exactly.
that than, and what does that mean? She keeps writing this on the board, but
that's
what
my
does it
point.
mean?
Yes.
hey, one more thing I've learned over the years, and this started with working with Somali women who wore lots of draped clothing, and I learned pretty early on to color code them. So have one set of red and one set of blue and one set of white, because if they were all white or all blue, and then they would stand up and the little pieces of paper would come fluttering out of their clothing, I had no idea which envelope it went into. So I always make sure I have at least 5 or 6 different colors, so that I can maybe
Put a
have,
symbol on the back.
yeah, maybe have a fighting chance of being able to figure out where did the broken, lost piece go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for coming. hurry up, clean up, and go see Carolyn's.